Since the emergence of punk rock, most historians have a short list of its creators. Both the Ramones and Sex Pistols emerged in 1976. But is it possible that the true godfathers of punk are a band from Detroit named
Death is one of the early purveyors of punk music. There's no doubt about it.
In 1975, Death appears to be on the verge of global recognition when a meeting is set up with one of music's most important producers.
They were put in touch with Clive Davis, the famous producer and label honcho in New York.
Clive Davis wanted them to go to work for him, and he wanted to work with them.
Davis is willing to record the band, but has one condition.
Supposedly, Clive Davis had objected to the name, said they had to change it.
No one wanted to market a band called Death. No one wanted to sign a band called Death. No one wanted to go see a band called Death.
Clive Davis, he's like, I'm not going to have a band named Death. Who's going to buy a record named Death?
They said no, to hell with Clive Davis, and refused to change the name.
One of the most punk things they did was say, no, we're going to stick to our guns.
After recording 7 tracks in the studio, Death walks out on their deal with Davis and into obscurity.
It's really sort of a story that is very common in rock and roll. They took a shot at the brass ring and didn't quite get there.
Meanwhile, punk takes off in New York and London with no mention of the Hackney brothers from Detroit. Band leader David Hackney dies in 2000, passing on the master recordings to his brothers. In 2009, the surviving members, Bobby and Dennis, re-released the original recordings, giving Death new life.
The ball started rolling. That's when people started paying attention, and we want to reissue the single. That turns into, are there more tracks?
And there was a huge reaction immediately. Not only was it the fact that they were just a band that no one had heard of, but they were 3 African-American brothers who had created this sound.
In 2012, the documentary film A Band Called Death leads to Bobby and Dennis reuniting the band for a tour. Death's resurrection sends shockwaves to the punk status quo.
I'm not going to tick off a whole bunch of Sex Pistols fans by saying that Death was the first punk rock band, but they were definitely one of the first.
Was Death the first punk band? I would bet that all those other groups would beg to differ, but I think a strong argument could be made that they really are.